Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to Dr. Hasina and fellow friends. My name is Zafran Bin Kamaruzzaman, and we are from Group 3. Today we want to present about lacquer. So before we start, I would like to invite all my groupmates to introduce themselves.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Iliani Binti Hazleen, and my matric number is 202256.
Hi, my name is Izzah Binti Abdul Hadi. My matrix number is 200549.
Hi, my name is Afiqah Binti Idrus. My matrix number is 200647.
Hi, my name is Emyra Shahira Binti Azmi, and my matric number is 202915.
Hi, my name is Alya Nasuha Binti Azman. My matrix number is 200-690.
So Umi, could you please present the slide? Alright, first of all, what is lacquer? Okay, lacquer is a special liquid that we put on wood or metal in order to protect and make it shiny. I know it sounds familiar because in Malaysia, we often heard about shellac. Well, lacquer is actually similar to shellac. The only difference is in the material used for the production. There is actually a different types of lacquer. There is nitrocellulose lacquer, acrylic lacquer, catalyzed lacquer, waterborne lacquer, and also aerosol-based lacquer. But whatever it is, lacquer is proved to be useful to furniture and carpentry industry. So the question is, how did lacquer even exist, and what is the development of lacquer in industry? Next. Lacquer, there is some resources that suggest lacquer actually come from Chinese lacquer tree, but also there is also some writing that suggests lacquer come from Japan, Hokkaido. But what I want to highlight here is if we going back to 1111 before Common Era, during Zhou Dynasty in China, lacquer were used for decoration of carriages, bows and also arrows. And then it further developed into decoration of musical instruments, cooking utensils, and other lavish items for palace. So in 1680, Manchu Empress sees a potential in usage of lacquer for artistic handicraft, which led to the lacquerware industry in Europe. But unfortunately, during 19th century, due to the adulteration, the artistic importance of lacquer was seized. Adulteration means the decrease in quality of some items due to addition of other substance. So moving on to the Europe, China has made a big exportation with Europe at that time, involving Netherlands, England, and also France. During that time, lacquer would become so fashionable and trendy that European craftsmen decided to make their own lacquer. Next. Although they decided to make their own lacquer, they actually didn't succeed until 1700. And then after that, they also begin to establish the imitation of lacquer. This operation involved scientists and master craftsmen to create formula to make their own lacquer. In fact, they actually succeed in this operation until the era is called as the golden age of European lacquer. So to elaborate more about this European lacquer, I invite my groupmate, Iliani, to elaborate more.
Okay, thank you, Razin. So lacquer process seems first to have been published by the Italian Jesuit Martinez in the Novus Atlasensis 1955 that found by the John Stocker and George Parker. Okay, next. Okay, next, the French lacquer. The French lacquer was further improved through the new information provided by the books of Memoir sur les Berniers de Lachin. In this book, Watin examined the precept of his predecessors and recommended it is the best formulas for lacquering objects to be used indoor, such as furniture, and outdoor, such as carriage. Watin determined that sandarite from the western juniper trees was the best substitute. This, together with the various gum dissolved in alcohol and turpentine and mixed with bitumen, produce the different varnish. So this is the best result of this process is the lacquer commode on 18th century that attribute to Ring Dubos. The picture below that. Okay, next. Okay, the uses of lacquer in Europe reflect the changing taste of the 17th and 18th centuries. In the late of 17th century, it was using for decorating the cases of cabinet set or for the ornamenting leather wall coverings. In the 18th century, bookcase desks, tall clocks, and the tea tables become the most fashionable of lacquer furniture in England and Germany. While in France and Italy, they preferred the chest of drawers and corner cabinet as a lacquer furniture. Then, the small lacquer box called Bois de Spa become a specialty of the Belgian town, also one of the lacquer product. But in the period of 1925 to 1930, two European sculptors, the Belgian Marcel Wolfer and the Franco-Swiss Jean Donnen, successfully approximate the true Oriental lacquer technique in a few art of object, which is clay, wood, and bronze. By this time, the making of lacquer surfaces had become a part of the chemical industry until today. So that's all from me. Next.
Moving on, I will explain on the general properties of lacquer. Lacquer usually has a fast drying times. Lacquer is a non-convertible coating where it does not depend on chemical reaction. It only depended upon the evaporation of the solvent. This non-convertible coating remains permanently soluble in the solvents, which is used to prepare the coating and also can readily be redissolved in this film after film formation. Next is lacquer is anti-corrosive. It has a super high durability where it is resistant to damage by water, acid, alkali, or abrasion. Abrasion is an area which are damaged by a scraping. Next is lacquer is clear and colorless, which it gives a natural aesthetic finish. Fourth, lacquer does not get cloudy or yellowish as it is. And it also can attain its maximum hardness in the presence of moisture. And lacquer also reflects the lowest light. Lastly, lacquer is mostly thinner than other products. It can seep deeper, which provides a durable seal that protects the wood from the inside out. Next is different types of lacquer and its properties. Firstly, we have nitrocellulose lacquer. It is relatively inexpensive, quick drying, and it also has a cured resin which provides a reasonably good protective layer. Next is a water-based lacquer. Water-based lacquer is fast drying and environmentally friendly due to the minimum content of chemicals which give an absence of unpleasant odor. Next is it have good performance of adhesion and also high fire safety, which means it is non-flammable. And third is acrylic lacquer. Acrylic lacquer specifically have design properties of hardness, flexibility, chemical resistance, gloss, durability, and heat resistant. But acrylic lacquer is mostly not water resistant. And lastly is a catalyzed lacquer. Catalyzed lacquer is a hybrid reactive. Catalyzed lacquer have a hybrid reactive finish, that cure chemically, which is not solely through the evaporation of solvents like other lacquer. And that's all from me. Thank you. Next, Aina will be presenting on the classification of lacquer.
Okay. For classification of lacquer, the first one is we have catalyzed lacquer. It also referred to as a conversion varnish or pre-catalyzed coating. It contains chemicals that dries by evaporation. The difference between this catalyzed lacquer with other lacquer is that, sorry, Umi, can you go back to the first slide? Okay, thank you. Okay, the difference between this catalyzed lacquer and other lacquer is that this one has a catalyst or hardener added when purchased. And the advantages is it is harder and can increase durability. This catalyzed lacquer and also urushiol lacquer that Razin have mentioned earlier, that it is famous in the late 90s. However, nowadays lacquer have gained popularity and became more developed. So other lacquers become the standard for wood finishing. The second is water-based lacquer. It is used for wood finishing and interior applications in the automobile. The advantages is it has low VOC. VOC is a volatile organic compound, means that the product will emit gases into the air, which can cause cancer. So means that it is good that it has low VOC, and also it dries faster. However, the drawbacks is that it is highly reactive to other fresh finishes, such as quick dry primer, and also can produce airborne particulates that can get into the lungs. As we can see from the picture below, water-based primer keep the wood light color, while the oil-based lacquer will give the wood warm and amber tone. Okay, next slide. Okay, next is nitrocellulose lacquer. It is used to make fireworks fuses waterproof, automobile, furniture finishing, and also guitar coating. It has two methods of applying, which is the first one is spraying, and also the second one is extensive use of spray guns. The disadvantages is it is hazardous nature of the solvent, as we know that nitrocellulose can be very hazardous in the manufacturing processes, which it is very flammable and toxic, and also yellowing base coat problem, which it can leave yellowish trace on the surface. The last one is acrylic lacquer. It contains synthetic acrylic polymers and dry to a water white, which means that the craftsman could avoid the yellowing problems which associated with nitrocellulose lacquer that I've mentioned just now. And the advantages is it is more durable and scratch resistant. It can be used on lighter woods like maple, birch, and ash. The example is CAB, acrylic lacquers, which contain cellulose acetate butyrate, which less prone to cracking. Thank you.
Next, I will explain about the raw materials of lacquers. So basically, we have two raw materials. For the first one is originally made from the sap of a particular tree, and the second one is it can also be made of synthetic substance. Okay, from sap from particular tree. So sap containing urushiol and is an allergic irritant, which is we take from the trunk of the lacquer tree to produce lacquer. So basically, we have certain tree that have this sap. So we call it as varnish tree. Varnish tree also called Japanese varnish tree, Chinese lacquer tree, and lacquer tree or wood all tree, any of various trees whose milky juice is used to make a varnish lacquer. So the next point is the sap is then filtered, heat treated or colored before we apply onto the base material that is to be lacquered. So these two pictures shown that how we tap the sap from the top from the trunk of the lacquer tree. So the next one is synthetic substance. As we know, synthetic is a substance that made by chemical synthesis, especially is to imitate a natural product. Okay, synthetic lacquer was originally composed of cellulose nitrate mixed with a plasticizer and dissolved in a volatile solvent. Currently, many weather-resistant lacquers are on the market that are based on acrylic, vinyl, alkyd, or cellulose ester resins. So cellulose nitrate, or also called as nitrocellulose, is a mixture of nitric esters of cellulose and a highly flammable compounds. Other than that, we can also use shellac, which is shellac we have to dissolve in alcohol, which is to create a synthetic coating and also to form a high closed surface. So, okay, next.
Okay, so I will proceed on the production of lacquer from shellac. Okay, so shellac is the resin that is produced from the lac bark. Okay, so first, the tree resin is secreted by female lac bark, and it is scraped from the tree branches. And then the scraped resin went through lac grader, where it is crushed into smaller form and impurities are sorted out from the resin. And then resin is cleansed with water and it is left to dry. And then heat and pressure is applied with presence of an insoluble solid granular filling material to plasticize resin. The purpose of this is to make the resin more flexible. And then operation of heat and pressure is stopped before a substantial change in resin occur, which means a physical change is observed. And then resin is dissolved in solvent to prepare for lacquer solution. So from this, a lacquer solution is produced. Okay, next. Okay, so I will play the video. Okay, so that was the video that shows how to extract the shellac from the branch of tree. Okay, next. Okay, so as Umi mentioned earlier, they can be artificial, they can be genuine lac where they extract from the resin of tree, but they can also be synthetic lacquer where the lac tree doesn't grow because of some countries' climate. So we have synthetic lacquer. So in that lacquer, plasticizer and pigments are added to nitrocellulose. So the difference is in this synthetic lacquer, nitrocellulose is used as the raw material, which is nitrocellulose is a mixture of cellulose with sulfuric and nitric acid. And then the materials are all dissolved in volatile solvent, which is alcohol or acetone. And then insoluble fillers are added to the solution to make it smooth, which are some of the fillers that are added is white lead, zinc oxide, kaolin, blank fix. And then mixture is treated in ball mills or other suitable apparatus until the fillers are finely ground. So the picture that is shown by the side is the picture of ball mill apparatus where the filler are finely grounded. And then when it is finely grounded, lacquer is regarded as homogeneous and it can be a solution. So that's all for me.
Okay, in conclusion, lacquer is a type of solvent-based product. It is this makeup that allows to provide a particularly intense glow finish at a certain product, which is wood, metal, and else. It is often used on many Asian-inspired or ultra-modern finishing because it is provide the extremely intense glow finish, extremely durable and resistant to damage. However, over the time, it can begin to discolor and become a scratch. Next, the lacquer have good properties that can protect the surface coating of any metal or wood to be tough coating without flaking or chipping. A lacquer remains clear for years without the yellowing usually associated with a varnish, polyurethane or shellac. So you don't need to use more than 2 coats to get a good looking chain with lacquer. And lastly, lacquer is dangerous to swallow, and when breathing in the fume of a long period will harm ourselves too because of the chemical in the lacquer. So that's all from us. Thank you.